All right. Now you're probably wondering, what the heck is this giant white thing and what does it have to do with me hitting my driver well? Well, it's actually something that's really important in the golf swing. Unfortunately, my flight scope radar won't work with this giant door in the way, but that's exactly what this is. This is a door that I just took off a sliding door off the hinges, strapped a 2x4 to it, and it's representing what's called the vertical swing plane. Now, when you test professional golfers versus recreational golfers, what they found is that professional golfers have a flatter vertical swing plane. So you can imagine this as the plane that my club head is coming through, is traveling on as I'm going through contact. And what they found is that the lower handicap golfers have a flatter vertical swing plane, and higher handicap golfers tend to have a more upright vertical swing plane. This makes a huge difference in all kinds of things that can pop up in your golf swing. So let me run through, and the great thing about this, you don't have to have this door here. This is just a visual representation of what's happening. By changing your mindset and changing what you're visualizing the goal of a golf swing to be, a lot of these things will start to clear themselves up. So let's start with piece number one, which is coming up out of your posture. You see, a lot of times when I have the idea that I'm going to hit at this golf ball, I'll tend to come down and pull down toward the ground. And what that does is that gets a much steeper club shaft. And this is why most players have too upright of a vertical swing plane. As they start to pull down toward the golf ball, this club is too steep, and if I kept going down on this angle, it would just slam into the ground. So I'll tend to stand up out of my posture, and that will shallow the club some. And then in an effort to hit the golf ball or an effort to redirect it, I'll then have to raise my hands up, and all of a sudden, this driver angle is much more upright. Now, if you're wondering, for a driver, this swing plane angle for tour players on average is 45 degrees. And as you go into shorter and shorter irons, because those are more upright, let's say as we go to a wedge here, they're much more vertical. So a 6-iron is more at 60 degrees. So this would be my driver's kind of representation of the vertical swing plane. This would be my pitching wedge representation. Now the cool thing about this is you're probably thinking right now, you know, Clay, this is getting even more complicated. How do I know if I'm on the right plane? This seems like it's going to be a lot of work to get. Well, I got great news for you. Every single player that I've ever worked with that wasn't a low handicap golfer, barring maybe a handful of players here and there, they've all been too vertical. And a great way to check this is look at your divots. If your divots have that nice square dollar bill shape to them, you're probably coming down on the correct swing plane with an iron. If your divots are toe down, meaning that my handle raises up, the outside of my divot is deeper than the heel of my divot, or the leading edge, or when my club very first hits the ground, isn't perfectly flush, isn't perfectly flat, that means that your swing plane is too vertical. And like I said, dang near every single golfer, I'm talking thousands of golfers, unless they were a scratch or better, were all pretty much too vertical in their swing planes. You got to flatten that out. So when I think about this door here, now all of a sudden it makes a lot more sense how I stay in my posture. Well, how would I swing under this door? I definitely wouldn't be able to swing under this door easier if I stood up out of my posture. That would make it even tougher. I would want to feel like I actually get my upper body going down toward the ground. I kind of lower my body and I'm swinging under this door this way. Now I'm exaggerating there for example's sake, but if you feel much more down under like this, then that's really going to help you to shallow out that swing plane and stay in your posture all the way through. A second thing here, if I think about, instead of pulling this club down toward the ground, I now think about pulling it on this angle. So I'm really trying to slot the club in here, much on a flatter plane so it can fit underneath this door, and I'm pulling it more toward the golf ball. And I can even imagine the butt end of the club is facing out to that golf ball. Now all of a sudden, look at my right elbow, it begins to tuck under. Look at my club shaft, it lays down flatter. If I'm looking from face on, this is a big key for this, and I'll mention this here in a minute, but if I'm looking from face on, if I pull the club down, this looks very steep and not very much lag. Watch what happens when I shallow this plane out. Now all of a sudden it looks like a ton of lag. So when you're looking at somebody like Sergio Garcia or players that just have massive amounts of lag, you just wish you could have that sharp angle like that because you know that can really help with your golf swing. A big part of that is coming from shallowing it out this way, which gives the appearance of tons more lag in the downswing. So what I want you to do is to visualize this when you're hitting some golf balls and feel like you're getting under this door. Another big piece of this, one thing that I really like, is I like to feel like my butt cheeks are scraping the ground. So as soon as I make a downswing, I feel like I'm putting my butt cheeks right on the ground and I'm staying down there on that. Now again, that's gonna help me from standing up out of my posture, but it's also gonna help me to get on a better plane and all these other things that we're talking about here. So let me give you an example of what that would look like or what I feel like I'm doing when I do this. So I'm squatting, my legs are staying bent, this is down on the ground. I feel like I'm getting under this door and I'm pulling the butt cap toward the golf ball, and that allows me to swing on a much shallower plane. Now, like I said, you're not going to be able to see that on the launch monitor because the door's in the way of the readings, but you can see how that was a really exaggerated example of how to shallow that out. Now, there's one more piece, a second piece to this. We talked about how changing this one thing can change 4 or 5 or 6 things in your swing. You're staying in posture, you're shallowing out your swing. It makes it a lot more sense to get more lag because this angle gets to look a lot sharper from the face-on view. But there's a big mistake I see when people do this. A lot of times, there's a comfort level in getting the arms closer to the body to try to get more lag and to swing under this door. And that's not what we want to be doing. We want to feel like we keep some distance between the hands and arms and the butt of my club or the handle of my club to get some lag. And that's what makes players look so long and loose on the PGA Tour, is that they keep that distance. And I have a great drill that's going to pair that up with what we talked about here today. You put these two things together, swing starts looking a lot more like a tour player's, regardless of your age or your physical ability. I call it the pirate ship, and it'll make total sense once you see it. I'm going to play a preview of that video here in 1 second. If you want to see the full video, all you need to do is go ahead and click one of the cards that pops up on the screen. And if you don't see one of those cards, don't worry. Go down to the link below in the description. Both of those will give you instant access to this video. And I'm going to show you how to keep that width as you're swinging under this door and getting tons and tons of lag. It's a real game changer for a lot of players. And once you put that light bulb on, man, it feels like the whole swing's starting to come into place. So I can't wait to show it to you. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so let's jump right in to one of my favorite videos I've ever done on lag, one of the ones I've seen the best results with. And we'll talk in a minute why this is called pirate ship, but it's really a play on a wide, narrow, wide drill or a wide, narrow throw drill that I've done in the past and have tons of success with. So if in the backswing, my club head kind of at parallel to the ground was say a good 5, 6, maybe even 7 feet away from the center of my body. In the downswing, it's much closer to my body. That's the narrowing part because I have this big angle of lag. And then I throw all that out in front, really let those arms extend, and I go wide again. Now, a lot of times, I'll see players misinterpret this drill, and they take a really good drill that's having tons of success, and they do it the wrong way and really struggle with it, feel like a lot of hands and arms. So if you've done this drill in the past and you feel a little bit out of sequence, you feel like your hands and arms just aren't working right, I bet this is exactly what you did. So when you're going wide in the backswing, that's all good. Most people get that correct. You really got to rotate the body. But when they narrow, the misrepresentation that a lot of players will have is they'll narrow up the arms, not the club head that we want to narrow, but they'll misinterpret this drill as narrowing the arms, and they'll do something like this. I want you to think of your arms as a pirate ship. Here's what I mean by that. You've probably been to an amusement park before where they have one of these big giant pirate ships. Everybody's packed on there in these seats. And then the pirate ship is down at the bottom. There's a big arm, and then that arm starts swinging back and forth just like a pendulum, right? And the ship goes back and forth. Well, the cool thing about this, so you can relate to your golf swing,